Portents of Fear is a horror fiction podcast which is intended for mature audiences. Discretion is advised. Welcome, Fearlings, to another weird and horrifying tale made just for you. I am your host, Michulhu, and I'll be your guide into the macabre and mysterious. Tonight, we learn about the horrific conclusion of the zombie apocalypse in The Death Cloud Files 3. Before we get started, take a moment to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a single terrifying story. Team Save the World, El Segundo, 10:30 a.m., Mission Day. The sun bore down on the dead city. The air sat still, full of fetid odors mixed with hints of sea salt. Groups of zombies wandered the main streets like packs of ravenous wolves. Between the Santa Ana winds and no fire response, whole sections of the city had been burned to the ground. The loss of human life was staggering. Any survivors would surely be insane, driven over the edge by isolation. Is the whole world dead, Alison wondered? 5 hours passed since they escaped the beach. There had been close calls, but for the most part, the alleys were empty. Alison signaled to stop. They needed to rest. She put distance between herself and the others. Burbank's sudden death still on her mind. It was always a sudden death, always terribly violent. Zach, Sam, Burbank, and countless others had died, and she felt helpless to save them. Losing any more people, well, she wasn't sure she had the strength. She wished they were far away from this doomed city, but she knew wishing got her nothing. Leland stepped forward and placed a hand on her back. "You all right, Captain?" No one had ever called her that before. It didn't help, but she smiled anyway. "Yeah, I just needed a moment. We need to keep going," she responded. "Roger," Leland replied. He and Velma started walking. Fen approached with regretful eyes. "It's been a tough 2 years, hasn't it?" he said meekly. She nodded yes, and they began to walk. Her emotions about Fen were conflicted. He'd shot Burbank, but didn't he have a right to? This wasn't the old world. There were no cops, no laws. It was dog eat dog. She had every right to shoot and kill Burbank as well. She felt robbed of the pleasure. It was that feeling that bothered her the most. "It has been. I wished I'd done more. You know, the more I think about Burbank and you, it's all right," he reassured her. "No, it's not. It's the problem with all of this. It's turned us into monsters. I didn't know Burbank before this, but I'm sure helping the military kill a bunch of old people was not on her bingo card. Or abusing you. I'm sure it wasn't either, but this isn't that world. That world ended when the truck exploded. I also didn't have to be Burbank's lackey. I put myself in that position. I gave up my soul for protection. The abuse was my fault too." Alison let out a big sigh and stopped walking, whistling to the others to wait. She turned to Fen and placed her hands on his shoulders. "That sounds like victim blaming. No, you didn't have to be her lackey. Yes, you were part of the culling. Those are things you'll have to live with and maybe someday even answer for. It's not my place to say. That doesn't mean you deserved what happened. I knew what she was forcing you to do, and I didn't do anything. I'm sorry. We all have sins we must carry, but her sins are not your own." She hugged him, and for the first time in a very long time, she felt human. They disengaged and began walking again. At 11, they all stopped to eat old MREs. When the military pulled out of Catalina, they'd left behind crates of them. Burbank and Fen stashed the rations away, using them to make friends and influence people. Leland hated MREs, but food was food. His stomach churned with anxiety. The lab was close. He'd expected much more resistance. He'd also promised not to come back to the city, but his feelings for Alison were deeper than he realized. He wanted to protect her, but he'd never tell her that. Why get shot in the face? After lunch, they headed out. This time, Velma and Alison took point with Leland and Fen taking up the rear. Fen followed Leland's gaze to Alison's backside. "You're staring again," he warned. "I can't help it. I've been trying to find the right time to talk to her, which is stupid because we're on a mission." "Well, that and she can be a bit scary," Leland admitted. "It's the end of the world. Death is everywhere, so why wait? Tell her." "Side note, I've been meaning to ask you, do you trust Velma?" Fen inquired. Leland silently thought about this for a moment. "Not sure. Something about her is off," he finally replied. "I agree. We should keep an eye on her," Fen said. Leland nodded. Stop whispering back there and keep an ear open for groaners, Alison chided. Yes, Captain, Leland replied. Fen smiled. Will you call her Captain in bed? I believe I will, he smirked. As they got closer to the lab, the zombie swarms increased. Packs of 5 to 30 roamed the main streets aimlessly. The one thing that puzzled Velma the most was why any of them were still active. XV3-7 was only meant to reanimate a corpse for 6 months. Originally, she'd planned to return to LA after the zombies died off, but it never happened, forcing her to take different action. There were a lot of questions she could only answer in her lab. They rounded a corner, and Alison found herself right in front of a hulking undead. At 7 feet tall, it towered over her. Its skin seemed to crawl like a tapestry of insects. Velma gasped. It was Billy, the worker who had tried to kill her in the lab just after the explosion. His tattered uniform still clung to his gelatinous body. Alison stumbled back a few steps, pushing Velma behind her. The thing sprang forward, knocking her to the ground. Velma could hear Alison wheezing out all her air on impact. The big guy tried to grab her, but Alison rolled left, allowing Leland and Fen to help her up. Instead of going after her, it turned its focus on Velma a few feet away. The massive hulk stomped forward, arms extended. Velma, not having anywhere to go, unloaded her shotgun straight up into the bottom of Billy's chin, blowing his face clean off. The sound ricocheted down all the streets, effectively ringing a dinner bell. She scrambled back, but the zombie fell forward like a tree trunk, pinning her to the ground. Its rotting brains and black blood gushed out all over her face, splashing into her eyes, mouth, and straight up her nose. The blood stung. Fen moved quickly, pushing the beast to the side, helping Velma up. She frantically poured water on her face, spitting out what she hadn't swallowed or inhaled. She knew it was too late, though. She could feel the zombie blood being absorbed. It was only a matter of time now. She had to get to the lab. A few feet away, Alison and Leland were checking for any zombies inbound. Leland's heart pounded. He'd almost lost her. Thanks, Leland, she smiled. Without thinking, he pulled her close and kissed her. They looked at each other with dazed eyes. He backed away, feeling like an idiot. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. Alison took hold of him, going up on her tiptoes, and kissed him deep. His whole body lit up. It's all right. It felt good. I didn't know you liked me. For a while now, yeah. I didn't know how to tell you, he smiled. The moment was broken with the sound of ravenous dead closing in. Smaller swarms merged together as they sprinted towards the commotion. Run, Velma barked, half blind. A mass of groaners rushed after them, hissing and chortling. Their skin was gooey gray, their eyes hollowed, sunken, and wrapped in a milky white film. Fen glanced back. They'd be on them in another 2 minutes. We have to move faster or we're lunch, Fen yelled. I just need to run faster than you, Velma snarled. Her foot snapped out, hooked Fen's, and sent him to the concrete with a seismic thud. Fen yelled as the undead overtook him. Alison didn't hear what he said, but Leland did. He screamed, "You bitch!" They tore through his clothes, ripped through his flesh, and started slurping down his organs and blood like he was an all-you-can-eat pasta bar. The other 3 quickly ducked down an adjoining alleyway to catch their breath. What happened to Fen? Alison asked while trying to get her heart back into her chest. He must have tripped. He was right next to me and then bam, flat on his face. They were too close for me to save him, unfortunately, Velma replied. She tripped him, Leland said flatly. I did not, Velma protested. I heard him scream, "You bitch," right before they ate him, Leland stated. What the hell, Velma? Alison pressed. Fine, I tripped him. It was that or we both die. Without me, you can't even get into the lab, so I made a choice. She'd grown tired of pretending to care for these people. She had no time for any of this. No, I'm not okay. You don't sacrifice others to save yourself, Alison growled. Yeah, you do. Stop being a child. What do you care anyway? You treated him like crap. You didn't care if he was being assaulted by Burbank Daily, but now you want to take the high road? He was a boot-licking weasel that had a go-nowhere life. The best thing he did was fall on his face when I needed him to. Alison's fist flew, but Leland grabbed her arm. See, even this idiot jarhead knows who's really important here, she sneered. She walked away. Why did you stop me? Alison asked. She's right. We need her. For now, Leland said flatly. Yeah, I guess. She does that shit to me, you kill her. Of course. He kissed her. Velma stood at the opposite end of the alleyway. She knew she was in trouble. The infection had begun eating holes into her brain. Thoughts turned to fog, and she tottered on weak knees. The antivirus was the only way. 10 minutes later, they stood on the first floor of a parking structure looking at a sign saying Joe's Magic Cracker Factory. It was locked tight. Velma smiled. Saul had to be in there. All they needed to do was get to her lab before she turned. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Here we are. Let's go, Velma exclaimed. The rhythmic thump of her companions' hearts bounced around her skull. The blood running in their veins smelled sweet. Not much time now. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Wait, we need a plan. What's the best way in? Alison asked. There's an emergency elevator 200 yards from the building on the east side. It's disguised as a shed, Velma replied. She pointed. Her skin had changed pallor. Clever. And how long till you become a zombie? I'm thinking 10 minutes at most, Alison guessed. Velma looked surprised. Alison met her eyes. Her young, sun-kissed face had a smug smile across it. I'm fine. I haven't been bitten, Velma snapped. That huge zombie sprayed you in the face with blood. I bet you even swallowed some of it. I'm not a scientist like you, but I know how viruses work. Blood in the eyes, nose, and mouth? You're infected. Plus, you look like shit. Why not cut the crap and tell us the truth? Like how you made this virus of yours, Alison pushed. It's not my virus. Saul made it, not me. I tried to stop him, but I couldn't. I don't buy it, Leland said. He raised his gun. Fine. I created the virus. It was supposed to go off in China and spread across Asia, Africa, India, and Europe. After 6 months, the zombies would die, ridding us of unneeded people and saving the world from overpopulation. But Saul's truck driver screwed the pooch. Wow, that's some supervillain BS. Why China? Leland asked. They have a large population and are the biggest threat to the U.S. Plus, they're connected to other, problem areas like the Middle East. Everything was planned out. But now here I am trying to get 2 morons to help me save the world, she spat. Problem areas? Alison asked. Oh, more bleeding heart BS. Great. Yes, problem areas. See, the world doesn't have the resources it used to. Throw in global warming, constant wars, and we're looking at extinction in the next 25 to 40 years. We get rid of undesirables, save for those needed to do basic labor. It could be a utopia, Velma said, evil flashing in her eyes. You're batshit nuts, Alison remarked. No, I'm not. The world would be a better place without so many stupid... The words faded from her thoughts as hunger sprouted in her gut. Tick-tock, tick-tock. She continued. Without workers think they're owed more than already given. Need lab now. She started off across the front lawn towards the secret elevator. Alison and Leland looked at one another, shaking their heads, and followed. She's going to change any second. We could just shoot her, Leland whispered. Not till we get the cure, then do it. Velma swiped her keycard over the security pad. The red light toggled green. Thankfully, Saul hadn't revoked her access. Her brain boiled in her skull. She pushed through the door, stumbling forward. Tick-tock, tick-tock. No zombies attacked them on the way in. Why? She wondered. The room was bare, save for the elevator. Closing the doors behind them, the 3 got on. Alison pressed the down button, and a TV monitor flickered to life. Leland's hand was on his gun. It was a commercial for Red Rasp Soda. Seeing a TV commercial was surreal. There were seats, 2 on each wall with seatbelts. Strap in. 6 miles down. Elevator move fast, Velma stammered. White film began covering her eyes. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The living are on the clock, she whispered. You're never going to make it, Leland said. Velma, with all her strength, forced herself to sit up. Yes, I will. Not dying now. Revenge. Saul. Her speech was fading fast. The elevator shook and then took off. It felt like it was in freefall. On the TV, the news came on. Wait, this is new, Alison remarked. Looks like it is, so the world didn't end. Armando was right, Leland mused. Right? Velma croaked. He said something bigger was going on. Like, why send us in 4 months after the infection? We'd blocked off the county the day the truck blew up. We evacuated everyone that made it to the county line. If we'd gone in after the green mist faded, we'd have saved a lot of people, but we were told to wait. Jesus. Saul's face popped up on screen, and Velma strained against her seatbelt as if she was trying to attack. Volume up, she grunted. The day after President Maxwell met with scientist Saul Patel, it was decided to end the Los Angeles zombie experiment. The new administration has condemned the action of former President Colt, saying that leaving people to die in the city and on Catalina Island when we had a cure the entire time was unconscionable. The Justice Department is looking into charges. Many law experts point out that former President Colt has immunity, as he was a sitting president at the time of his alleged crimes. For Saul Patel's part, he says the end of the LA project is the victory he's been fighting for this entire time. Here is his reaction. 2 years ago, Velma Wallace unleashed this madness onto the people of Los Angeles. She wanted to wipe out most of the world's population, starting with the US. I was lucky enough to escape and warn the government about what was happening. I even went to the president with the cure in hand. Unfortunately, President Colt wanted to study XV3-7 in hopes of using it against China. I was shut down at every turn, so for me, this is a great day. You lying son of a bitch, Velma yelled. It was the first full sentence she'd spoken in 10 minutes. He wanted the same thing I did. I'll brains him if last I do. Alison and Leland looked at each other. President Gomez has said she expects to have Catalina evacuated by the end of the week. The first ship arrived at 9 a.m. this morning to start the long process of relocation. Shit. We were hours away from being saved, but we had to listen to her dumbass, Alison said. It's been reported that the infection has started to mutate, and fear of it spreading outside the quarantine zone has risen to a fever pitch. President Gomez ordered the military to wipe out all zombies in Los Angeles. General Peters says he plans to lure them out with noise and eliminate them with aerial attack drones. They will be making announcements warning any survivors to stay in place until the all-clear is given. TV off. We could have been saved, Alison lamented. Yeah, but we couldn't have known, replied Leland. You're right. We'll have to see what supplies they have in this lab of hers, Alison said, pointing toward a quickly zombifying Velma. The elevator arrived at the lab with a hard jolt. It took 5 minutes for it to travel 6 miles. Velma wheezed, unable to speak and barely able to walk. Her head was full of wasps. Cooler, quickly, she sputtered. Final seconds, tick-tock, she thought. They grabbed her arms and helped her walk. She smelled of rancid asparagus. Reaching the cooler, Leland opened the door. Only 1 box of antidote was left. Give, Velma moaned. Death closed in. The hunger grew in her throat. Her skin felt like bubbling metal. Gasping for air, she grabbed the box and ripped it open. No cure. No salvation. Just a note saying, Dear Velma, get fucked, Saul. Velma howled with rage, collapsing on the floor. Her muscles convulsed. White foam leaked from her mouth as her lips turned gray and her gums receded. Her skin writhed. A deep death sigh emanated from her throat. The putrefied smell of the undead filled the room. Without speaking, Alison and Leland raised their guns and fired. The body went limp. Blood flowed out onto the steel floor. Can't say I'm going to miss her. Now what? Leland asked, still looking at Velma's quickly bloating remains. We searched the place. There's a map on the wall. Looks like a big complex, Alison replied. Think they have showers and food in here? Leland asked. They do. Living quarters are here. Looks like people lived here. We should be on alert just in case. The two began searching, going to the living area first. The kitchen was well stocked with dry goods and a freezer packed to the gills. As an added bonus, the water and gas were still on. Why does it seem like this place was cleaned and left for someone to find? We haven't found one zombie, but Velma said the place was full of them, Leland wondered. My guess? Saul watched her leave, came back in, and cleared it out. He left the note hoping she'd come back looking for the cure to save her reputation. I guess she was predictable? But why leave food then? Drive her mad with loneliness and then starve her to death. Or he plans to come back after this mess is done, or both, she replied. Wow, that's bleak. He didn't seem like he was a great person on TV. No, he didn't. I bet there are more of these labs all over. She wasn't the leader, just a higher up. We may never actually know who's in control, she stated. But she wanted to know. The rich were always doing some shady thing and getting away with it. Whoever they are, they'd stolen her life. Before this, she was 18, getting ready to go to college that fall. She got a full ride to UCLA. She planned on being a doctor, but then boom, the world changed in a blink, all because of a madwoman trying to cleanse the world of undesirables. She would give anything to go back and be a normal teenager again, even for just a day, to get those years she lost. When they got out of this, though, there was still time for college, still time to be a doctor. Her scholarships would be gone, and UCLA too, but she could find a new school and get a job, maybe write a book or become an MMA fighter. A future could be had. They kept searching. There were offices and labs, but the best thing was the showers. There was a station with towels, robes, shampoo, and soap. The tiles gleamed with perfection. Alison started taking off her clothes. Leland covered his eyes. What are you doing? I'm taking the first real shower I've had in 2 years. Now you can either join me or wait in the hall. I hope you join me, she said, smiling. Leland's clothes flew off. The two got under the huge silver shower heads and let the water fall over them for a full 5 minutes before they started making out heavily. Much later, wrapped in robes, they threw their clothes in the washer. When the water and soap hit the clothing, it turned black. Dear Lord, Leland remarked. You're kidding, right? You used to wash your own clothing with a stone, and we fought zombies. What color did you think the water would be, she teased. Not sure, just not that, he grimaced. Come on, tough guy. Let's eat, get this stuff in the dryer, and go to bed. The food was great. They'd been living off mostly MREs for a while. The camp did grow its own food, but it always seemed to run out with so many mouths to feed. They also had fish, but none of that was as good as the cheesy mac she was eating. Any plans for when we get out of here? Alison asked. First thing is to see my wife and kids. Alison took a firm grip on her fork and judged where she could shove it to do the most damage. I'm kidding. Wow, there's a look I'd never want to see again, he laughed. Not funny. I thought I'd have to kill you. Now really, what's your plan? I'm hoping to start a new life with you. So wherever that goal takes me, I guess. He was serious. She could tell by the way he looked at her. He really loved her, and she thought she could love him too. She raised her bottle of Coke. To a future open with possibilities, she said. After eating and throwing their clothing in the dryer, they headed to the bedrooms. The biggest, the one that they figured had been Velma's, had a king-size bed. In the center of it sat an orange cat. It looked unimpressed and slightly sleepy. How the hell is there a cat in here? No idea, but I think this might be the cat distribution system at work. Hey, kitty, you're so cute, she said, rubbing its head. A low-engine purr kicked on in approval. The three fell asleep. Much later, the cat growled, waking Alison and Leland. They sat straight up. A silhouette stood at the door. It took them a moment to piece together who it was, or what, really. Then they got it, the only other person in the place. It was the mutated corpse of Velma, backlit by hall lights. A low hiss came from its rotting lips. We had shot her several times. How? Alison thought. They had their guns on the nightstands next to them. I know we shot her in the head at least twice, Leland whispered. I think the virus is mutating. We should have burned her body. For a few moments, they just stared at each other. It slightly swayed. Suddenly, Velma screamed and dashed forward at full tilt. Leland rolled left, Alison right, both grabbing their guns from the nightstand. The cat was already under the bed, hissing, fur standing up on end. Velma crashed into the bed, snarling. They leaped to their feet and ran towards the door. Velma clawed through the sheets, then sprang off the bed at Leland, slamming into him. They both hit the ground. Alison swung around and shot Velma in the torso right as she tried to bite Leland. She flinched, and he was able to pull away and shoot. The monster let out a cry and scrambled back, but it was clear she was gaining strength again, and they only had so much ammo. Bullets only slow her down. We need to run. They flew out of the bedroom and raced down the hall. We need clothes, Leland yelled. In the panic, Alison had forgotten that they fell asleep naked. Their clothes were still in the dryer. Go left. There should be a bunk room. I think I saw uniforms in there, she commanded. Velma bellowed as her flesh pushed the bullets out of her body. She strained hard and 2 new arms erupted from her upper back. The cat kept quiet, watching. Velma bellowed again and careened down the hall in a whirlwind of rage. Alison and Leland got into the barracks and slammed the steel door behind them, bolting it. Alison scanned the room. There was a second entry on the other side, already closed. She quickly locked it as well. She'd been right. There were sets of work clothes in the footlockers, including shoes. Velma arrived and started banging on the door with all 4 fists. Is it me, or does she have more hands to pound with? Leland asked. Yes, that door won't hold. We need a plan. There was a morgue on the map, west side of the lab. Hopefully they have an incinerator. The metal of the door groaned as it began to buckle. With a hard push, Velma knocked it to the floor. "Move!" Alison yelled. They ran through the second door, closing it behind them. This time, Velma just opened the lock, showing a heightened intelligence compared to the normal zombies. Leland's legs felt like hot lead. He'd done more running in the past 24 hours than most people did in their entire lives. He could feel his muscles throb, then his right calf cramped hard and he went down. Alison spun around. Velma launched herself in the air at Leland. He closed his eyes. There was a crash of bodies against the metal floor. He looked just as Velma sank her sharp teeth into Alison's shoulder. She screamed as her clavicle snapped under the pressure. Leland scrambled to his feet, grabbed his gun, and shot Velma right in the temple. Her brains splattered against the far wall. He kicked her off Alison and boot-stomped Velma's head till it was paste. Alison's breath was erratic. Blood poured from the wound. He got to his knees and cradled her in his arms. His face became slicked with tears. "Why? You should have kept running. You could have made it." "No, I couldn't save Zach, Sam, Burbank, or Fen. I had to save you. If you had died, I would never have forgiven myself. I've lost too many friends," she whispered. Waves of blood bubbled out of the neck wound. Her breath was becoming shallow. Maybe we can get you help. We can get a message out," he bargained. "Even if we did, I'd be dead before they got here. Velma died after an hour. Promise me you'll burn us both right away. Don't wait." "I will. I love you, Alison." She smiled, and the light left her eyes. 3 weeks later, Leland emerged from the lab. Tied across his chest was a sling he made with the orange cat asleep inside. He had nothing else. A military truck idled at the edge of the compound. He climbed in. "Hello, Corporal Leland Jackson. I'm General Fred Thomas, your ride home. Call me Fred, though, after everything you went through. No need to be formal right now." Leland looked shocked, but still remembered to salute after a moment. "Yes, sir, thank you. I just told you not to worry about all that saluting and sir crap. We have a long drive, and then we have to debrief you, so relax." The general put the truck in first and pressed the gas down while letting off the clutch. Leland looked out the window at an empty city. He was still on edge. He figured he always would be. Fred, you called me Corporal. I'm only a private first class." "Not anymore, you're not. We have big plans for you, Corporal. More on that later." All right. Looks like you got rid of all the zombies." "You bet your ass we did. Loud noise drew them out. Attack drones did the rest. It took a week, but we wanted to make sure they were all gone, so we searched every building, tunnel, and goddamn hidey hole in the county. Bastards were everywhere," the general bellowed. "And everyone was evacuated from the island?" "Yep, and they all had glowing things to say about you and your unit, risking your lives to save the world. Amazing. I didn't lead us. I can't take credit. Well, whatever the story, you can tell the world soon enough. By the way, what's the cat's name?" the general asked. "Alison." I was really hoping that Alison was going to make it, but she always did put her friends first. Could you save a friend or a loved one from the jaws of a zombie? Be sure to tell us in the comments. If you like this Portents of Fear tale, consider joining our Patreon. There's a link in the description below. Want more horrific stories? Click on one of our other episodes on your screen now. Good night, Fearlings. Sleep well, if you can.